What's going on, everyone? It's Mike, it's John back again. John has been having several technical difficulties for the last 45 minutes, and it has been thoroughly enjoyable to watch and experience. I was recording some of it, but then it felt mean. It felt mean to show everyone the emotion and raw passion that John was showing towards his new Samsung compared to his old Galaxy Pixel. But we are where we are. He's back on his Galaxy Pixel, which also means he's back at Goodison Park, whilst Mike is at Bramley Moor. Looking, I must say, this background, it helps me. I think if there's any women watching right now, just put a number 0 to 10 in the comments and let me know how fucking sexy I look. On a more somber note, before we start the video, I do want to say just a massive thank you to everyone for your lovely comments and your support towards me personally and my mum and my family. It meant a lot. It meant a lot. And, you read through the comments and lots of people in those comments are talking about how they've lost loved ones or how loved ones have got cancer, and how equally, some of you guys are suffering with cancer and you've been diagnosed with it. So, look, I just want to say that this channel, it's always been about family. When John had Chrissy, the first thing John would ever remember me saying is family comes first, and I stand by that statement. Not just in YouTube, but in life. Family means everything, and you are all part of my family. So I just want to say thank you for being there for me when I needed it. I was down yesterday, and I tried really hard to hide it, and I hope that come across. But sometimes you can't beat raw emotion, you can't beat the feeling of pain. But you guys, your comments were tremendous. They helped massively. And to anyone that is currently suffering with cancer, or you've got loved ones that are suffering with cancer, look, you aren't alone. There's millions and millions and millions of people out there that unfortunately get diagnosed with cancer. So yeah, I'm sending love to you all, as equally you sent love to me. So thank you, guys.
Well said, by the way.
And it's a good job we can hear you saying that as well, because on the other videos, it was like, boop, boop, boop. It was terrible. So anyway, look, guys, let's get into it. Everton have confirmed today the Fab Four. Let's just call it that. We've been there before. We had Cenk Tosun, Wayne Rooney, Yannick Bolasie, and Gylfi Sigurdsson. And today we've got 4 people who actually know what they're talking about, and they've split the director of football role across 4 departments. It very much looks like the idea is that if one area fails, that person can go, but it's not an indictment on the it's not an indictment on the academy manager if the recruitment is poor. It's an indictment on the academy manager if they can't get the next group of talent through the academy. So it does take the pressure off these guys, but it equally puts pressure on them to go and get the right decisions, go and make the right footballing choices. And Everton are building this from the bottom up, rather than going out and splashing loads of money on players and building from the top down. They're doing it the other way. And I for me personally, am really, really happy with the situation with the 4 of these coming in. It's now confirmed. John, are you happy? Because you look like you've had the moisture drained out of you while you've been changing phones and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, listen, me, you, and every Evertonian in the world, in the land, have said that this club needed to start again from the bottom and rebuild. And my phone's doing the ghost touch again. So we needed to start from the bottom, and we have. And these 4 people, when David Moyes is gone, these 4 people will still be there, still doing the job that they brought in to do. And we're going to build for the future. Now, you're quite right with what you say. If one person's not doing his job, then at least the other 3 will be doing a good job, if you see what I mean. And they can be replaced, but the people who we've brought in know what they're doing. And for me, that's the main thing. They've been brought in. And the reason why these are being brought in and the reason why the director of football title got scrapped from Everton, which I've said for a while, I don't think we go down that road. And I was right. And
What?
Well, I can't see myself, so can you?
Yeah, you look great.
Well, so my screen's gone blank because of this stupid, shitty phone. Right,
Now,
so I'm talking to a white screen, so I can't see myself, which isn't a bad thing. So as I was saying, we've needed this for years, and these people have come in now, these owners, and they've looked at the setup that was at Everton, and obviously for years and years, the setup didn't work. The director of football title didn't work. And we've said on here, David Moyes doesn't really work with directors of football before. He will be used to working in this situation that he's now in. Everyone's going to put their fingers in the pies and everyone's going to be left to do their own job. But at the end of the day, they all have to collectively come to an agreement on every day running of the club, how the academy is going to be run, transfer targets, when they agree if they all want this player or not. They are all going to have to agree. So it's not going to be easy because obviously these people haven't worked together before. But over time, I think these 4 people who have come in, you're probably not going to see much of a benefit the first season. But I think for me, this will be a second season where once they've got their feet under the table, each one of them knows what each individual is doing in the club and what their job title is and their job role. I think you're going to see more progress from these 4 people who've been brought in the second season, in my opinion. That's not to say they're not going to do a good job in the first season, and I'm not writing the first season off. Just think it's going to take a while to get used to working with each other and agreeing on things, because there's 4 powerful men coming to Everton Football Club now. 4 people, well, obviously 2 come from Leeds, and one of them done a really good job there. I don't know much about the other one, but then you've got the fella who's coming from Man City, and you've got the fella who's coming from Man United. So these people have been brought in, and they know their shit. So for me, it's only a good thing.
Yeah, you're spot on. And let's just delve into that a little bit more. So you've got Nick Cox, who's coming in as technical director. You've got James Smith, director of scouting and recruitment. You've got Chris Howarth to do football strategy and analytics. And you've got Nick Hammond, who's going to deal with the player trading side. Obviously, but also on top of them is Angus Kinnear, who is the CEO. The big thing around Everton is the fact that they've also, as part of this, and as part of this transition with the technical side, they've also bought a consulting AI type analytical platform site that does a lot of the data work in the background. So Everton haven't just gone and got 4 people and said, right, bring your notebook, bring your notes from the other teams and go and get me those players. They're forward thinking for the future. And just to really, really put the mark on how important this is for Everton as a football club going forward. And look, I'm completely pro this. There's no separate setup for the ladies. It's a setup for both the men and the women. And that means that Everton as a group, as a football entity, is going to progress together. You know, the ladies' team's going to improve, the men's team's going to improve. So we're not going to see both teams languishing towards the bottom of the league, mid-table. We're going to see both teams flourishing, aiming for the top. So, you know, under Sorensen's lead, under the ladies, under David Moyes with the men, etc., Everton are going into positive places. And as a brand, that means a lot. And equally, you know, all jokes aside, the Premier League haven't closed the loopholes on Everton selling car parks to each other and selling ladies' teams to each other, and Everton haven't done it. So from a PSR perspective, all Everton need to do is sell one to the other, and maybe there's a way they can sell Goodison back to themselves. It sounds really weird, but there may be a way around Everton can actually use this in the future from a PSR benefit. So Everton are learning, in my opinion, already how to be a little bit more of a clever club, in my opinion, John. Do you agree?
Well, the thing is, Chelsea have found plenty of loopholes in the situation with PSR. Right with what you said, I think it was £200 million that they practically sold the women's team to themselves. They sold hotels to themselves. Now, other clubs will have looked at that and noticed that Chelsea were left to do that, and they didn't have any stipulations hanging over their heads, and they got told they couldn't do it. There's no reason why Everton can't do that at all, because the Freakins aren't soft people. They're not silly people. They know their onions. They know what they're doing. And I think that's being proven with what you've just said there. There's no separate things at Everton anymore. The men and the women will get looked after exactly the same. And this is no disrespect to the women's team in any way, shape or form. But you see it in other clubs where everything goes into the men's team, because let's be honest, that's your money tree. Men's football in the Premier League, that's where the dough is. But Everton have sort of put everything together. Everything is in one pot now. And everything at the club from top to bottom will be all as one. And I'll be honest with you, there's probably isn't many teams in the Premier League who actually run like that. So these group of people who've bought Everton Football Club know what they're doing. They've come in, and let's be honest about it, it was a shit show. It was an absolute car crash under the previous owner with the financial situation he put us in. A friend of ours, Millsy, we were talking to him today through text messages, and he was saying how much there is left to do on the ground, and there isn't any badges of represent Everton on the stadium yet, and yet they are coming. The Hill Dickinson's not far away now from being put on the stadium. But I think if these Freakins would have had Everton a bit earlier, I think you would have seen a lot more going on around the ground. Now, that ground will be practically ready. All the branding would be on. It'd look like a proper football ground. And these are coming in, and there was rumours going around that they come in and they didn't like the executive boxes and the lounges, and they ripped them out. Where we get our half-time pint and our pie, brand new kitchens in the bar area, got ripped out. It was like a building site 2-3 months ago, Bramley-Moore, inside what no one could see. These have come in. They've seen what mess this football club was left in and what it was like when they took it over. And make no bones about it, these are serious about Everton Football Club and where they want to take us and put Everton back on the map. And we've spoke about that. Everton are a giant waiting to be woken, and the Freakins are doing their utmost best to make that happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and I think the other thing that we need to echo is the players that we are now being linked with. We've been speaking about experience, and we did the video on it yesterday. We spoke about the Kyle Walkers and the Grealishes and the younger players. Today we've been linked with a lad called Malik Fofana, who is 20 years old, plays in where does he play again? I'm sure it was Leon, wasn't it? Was it Leon?
Well, Leon.
Yeah, Leon. Yeah, he plays at Leon. He's made his debut for Belgium as an international. So all of a sudden we're being linked with these younger, talented players again. And this is the way that I think Everton are going to go. Do not get me wrong. We can't just go and sign 20, 21-year-olds and expect to finish top of the league. Like, Everton can't do that. But it's definitely good that they're looking at this policy. The other thing that I really want to get clarity on at this point, we are on the 20th of June, and we still don't know what's going on with Michael Keane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Idrissa Gana Gueye. And I mean this in the nicest possible way. But if those players are waiting for Everton rather than Everton waiting for those players, I'm probably okay with it. But if those players have got a contract from Everton and are waiting for the next 10 days to find out if they get a better one, I think that's an absolute disgrace, if I'm being honest. So I want Everton to move quickly on that, because I'm not happy about that either, if I'm being honest. But I feel like the people at Everton will be on that and be looking at that and be saying to these people, you either sign or you go. That is it. I'm not waiting any longer.
But the thing is, come 10 days' time, they're out of contract. Everton no longer paying their wages. this is just my opinion. I think Calvert-Lewin goes. I do. I think he goes. I think it'll be I think it's going to be the same sort of situation that we're in with Michael Keane and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So Michael Keane's very highly paid at Everton Football Club, and I think there's an offer on the table for them two players. We'll get on to Ghana guy in a minute, but on reduced terms of what they've been used to being on. Now, for me, I actually think Michael Keane accepts that. It'll be a massive drop, don't get me wrong. I don't think Calvert-Lewin does. He thinks he's better than what he is. If he was chocolate, he'd eat himself, in my opinion. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin will hold out for what he can get. Everton aren't going to offer him the contract that was on the table 2 Christmases ago. That's been withdrawn now because of the terms that were offered to him, and he still refused to sign it because he wanted £120,000 a week. Freakins, in no way God's given earth, are offering Dominic Calvert-Lewin that sort of money. So I think he goes. I think Michael Keane, I actually think Michael Keane signs for another 12 months. Ghana guy's a bit of a different one because there was rumours going around that he'd been offered a 12-month contract, and then if things are to be believed, a Saudi club coming for him. Now he's asking Everton for a 2-year contract by all accounts. So that's up in the air. Now with 10 days to go, I don't care whether it's the Idrissa Gana guy, Michael Keane or Calvert-Lewin. This group of people who own Everton Football Club now will not be held over a barrel like they have been in the past. And we've thrown stupid wages at bang average Premier League players. We've thrown stupid wages at players who are probably championship level. They're not going to do it. That's what got us in the mess a couple of years ago. Then Mashiri didn't happen. Obviously, it didn't help with all the bank loans that he took out on the strength of the stadium, which the Freakins have cleared off apart from one. I think I'm right in saying. No one will hold this group of people who have bought this football club over a barrel anymore. And I don't care whether it's a Idrissa Gana guy, Michael Keane or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm all for that because I'm sick of sentiment. We've said it on here many times. There was people working within on the board. There was people working within Everton. There was players who got offered contracts to come back or, to stay another 12 months, 2 years for the sentimental value of it. These aren't like that. And I am all for that because to progress, we need to stop being nice. We need to stop being a club that throws money at everything and anything, which is fucking pointless because you get nothing back for it. I'm all for progression and this group of people making Everton fans realise, they're in it for the long haul. We can see what they want and we can see where these want to take the club. And I think from the last couple of videos we've done, Michael, where they've been so positive, and I must say, I'd say the videos the last 3 weeks have probably been the most positive videos we've done since I've been on this channel, because we can see where the club's going, we can see where they want to take the club, and we can see what players we're being linked with. We can, we're seeing the sponsorship deals coming in, and we're seeing progression. And I think, again, we'll go back to what you said before, involving the women and the men as one entity. I think it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, spot on. 2 other things I just want to mention. It's come out again today that Everton are in talks, and there is a willingness from Jared Branthwaite to sign a deal at Everton. Now, in my mind, this means he's going nowhere. So I actually am not. I'm not concerned about that anymore. I was slightly worried at the start of the season we may lose him. I'm no longer worried. I think he does stay an Everton player, and again, with Tom Fellows, it's been warming up here in the Midlands. It does look like West Brom are in a position where they need to sell. It does look like they will take a deal between 10 and 15 million. And as we said, look, there is genuine concrete interest there. And I, without pretending to be in the know, because I don't know what's going on in Liverpool at Everton, I do know what's going on up the road, and I can tell you that there is genuine interest in Tom Fellows from Everton, as a few other Premier League clubs. So that's all I'm saying. Tom Fellows, there's a school here, literally half a mile away, where he went to literally, 3-4 years ago when he was in secondary school. So, The other thing I want to mention, and I think this is also really key that we mention this, John, is about the stadium now, because it's come out today about come out yesterday about the unique experiences, or the day before about the unique experiences. Now, when Everton Bramley-Moore was built, they showed off a street. There was going to be various bars that you could walk through, and it felt like an experience that all fans could have. It felt like an experience that we could all go in to various bars within the ground, and we could all share a pint. It was cobble streets, or it was posh dining, whatever. But it actually turns out that this is for some unique experience with padded seats and seats where you get a phenomenal view of the pitch and all of this stuff. And it's about £400 to £500 a ticket. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I get why Everton have done it. Money matters, and that needs to be, in place. I get it. But what I also don't want to know, or don't want to feel like we're feeling, is that the ordinary match-going fan is losing out on their actual experience that they had. So, for example, my experience at Goodison Park is I could drive up to pretty much the ground. I could park by the hub. I could park in the little garages where I used to park, or I could park in Stanley Park. And it was literally a 5-10 minute walk to the stadium, seeing other Everton fans, going in the hub for a beer, meeting you, and all coming together. At Bramley-Moore, that is nigh on impossible unless I get there 3 to 3.5 hours before the game. I can park, and I think I've managed to get myself some parking, so happy days. That seems to be sorted for the season. But there's going to be so many fans that travel, even more than 10, 15, 20 miles by car, and they can't get anywhere near the ground. Their experience is already diminished. And then on top of that, all of these unique experiences that Everton have promoted, they're not going to get to experience. So yes, the food is better, the drinks are better, the seats are better. All of that is positive. The fan zone that's going to be over the road looks like it's going to be fantastic. But the actual opportunities to experience the absolute best of Bramley-Moore is being priced away from the normal match-going fan that earns his money, that works really hard. Mate, realistically, maybe I could afford one of these for my birthday, and that sort of thing. I'm in a very fortunate position, and I make no bones about it. I'm a lucky person, right? But there's lots of people that aren't quite as lucky, right? And there's lots of people that can't afford these experiences. And I don't agree with the pricing of it. I don't agree that it's so expensive. I get the stadium and the season ticket prices were kept low. I get the pre-season tickets were kept similar rates to the Goodison rate. I get all of that. But I'm worried that all of these experiences that this stadium was built for is actually going to completely diminish the heart of Everton Football Club. And that majorly concerns me. And it's the only negative I've had over the last 2 or 3 weeks. But that does worry me. It does worry me.
Listen, I'm not going to stand here and blow smoke up the freaking arse any more than what I have. I agree with what you're saying. There's the majority of people probably can't afford that. I probably wouldn't be able to afford it unless you buy me one for my birthday. But it's the way of the world, mate. Unfortunately, at new grounds, you look at City, you look, excuse me, look at Arsenal, you look at Tottenham. It's the way of the world, and I know I've spoken really highly of the Freakins tonight for what they're doing with the football club and clearing the debts, and bringing the right people in to run the football side of it. But they want their money back, and they're only doing what clubs with new grounds do. Even the clubs with old grounds, Anfield and Man United probably do it. Whether it be the Freakins, mate, whether it be, the fella who owns Man United, whether it be the Arabs who own Man City or the Americans who own Liverpool, they're not bothered about the average, normal match day going fan. So I agree with you. And the experience that we've all had at Goodison, where, as you say, we could meet up in the Wetherspoons or the Hub. We need more pubs down there because of the amount of people who are going to be coming down there. And, I know a couple of pubs are getting done up. But you're all going to have to get there early to get in. And I think the match day experience that we've shared with people out the hub, we made a lot of friends, going for a match day pint before the game. It's going to be hard for that meet up again, unless, as you say, you're getting there 3 hours before and getting your place in the pub. But going back to what you were saying about the ticket pricing, let's be honest about it. Did you honestly believe that this wouldn't happen? I didn't. I thought something like this would have happened, to be fair. It was in the pipeline. Brand new ground, brand new owners, want their money back. They'll charge you for the people who can afford it, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is. That's just my opinion, by the way.
To be honest, John, I think most people would agree with you. I'm just, as I say, I'm passionate about us as a community, as a group of people, and I just worry. I just worry that all of these things they're not targeted to us. And I get it, we're not the ones. We're not the ones that give them the most money. It is the tourist fan, or it is the fan that travels a long way. We know there's more sports breaks available now. But, I looked earlier, they're £200. I think there was 159 last season at Goodison. There was a lot less seats. There's more seats to do that now. Brighton had sold out, Liverpool had sold out, and I was only looking for the sake of this video. I wasn't looking for anything particularly special. I was just looking. I'm in a fortunate spot. I have got 3 season tickets for next season. I'm really lucky. But to be honest, I just worry. I just worry that I don't want us to lose the heart of what we are. And while David Moyes is here, I don't think we will, because I think David Moyes is almost a link between the club and the fans. But I do worry about what that looks like maybe after David Moyes, because he won't necessarily, the new manager won't have that affinity with Everton. He'll only see success as the absolute pinnacle, which is what we all want. I'm not saying there's not. But David Moyes comes in and says the right things. He does the right things. He acts like a toffee. So, yeah, look, I've got nothing else to say. I'm more than happy to leave it there. I think
just to add to that, I think what will soften the blow a bit, and listen, that blow will always be there, because you're right with what you say. It's Everton Football Club's a community, and there was so many pubs that you could go to around Goodison before, and it was all within walking distance, and the parking was a lot easier, as you point out. But we need success, on the back of these expensive seats and not being as many pubs. And as you said before, it looked like there was going to be an area where we all could have met, and it would have felt like, especially the weather like this next to the Mears, you'd feel like you were on holiday with your mates having a pint outside the game. But we need success. We need success, because it's no point in banging the prices up like that for the prawn sandwich brigade who can afford it, when we're not seeing success on the field. So it's going to have to go hand in hand, in my opinion. It won't feel as bad, and it won't feel like we're losing our football club if we start challenging for honours and pushing our way up the league and getting away from relegation dogfights that we've been used to. So I just think, leave them to do that, do their best to look after the normal average Everton fan. And that's no disrespect to anyone, because I'm just a normal Everton fan. But we want to see success, and it probably won't feel like we're getting the rug pulled under our feet if we do see, progression within the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, look, let's leave it there. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, guys. We really do appreciate it, as you already know. We'll be back. Probably not tomorrow. We'll probably have a day off tomorrow, well-earned break for me and John, and we'll be back on Sunday and Monday, no doubt, talking about...
I'm out tomorrow anyway, aren't I? So...
Yeah, John's out tomorrow. He's him and his darling wife are going out on a cheeky night out. So if you do bump into them, make sure you throw your drink all over them. Not Lisa, throw it on John.
If anyone's around the Crosby area tomorrow, South Road, Moor Lane, and you'd like to buy me a pint, I'm more than willing to accept off you.
There you go. There you go. There's a treat for everyone. Lose yourself £4.50 or whatever it is for a pint in Crosby. Jesus. Right, guys, we'll see you soon. Up the toffees. Thank you for the love again, as I said earlier. And yeah, just yeah, just keep subscribing, because 56% of you who watch this video aren't subscribed. So subscribe, please. Okay, that would, you know, me and John would be in the Bahamas doing this now if you all decided to subscribe, but instead you don't. You choose not to. So start subscribing. All right, peeps. And if you've got your in-laws and your next door neighbours and your family and all that, I don't care who they support. Just get on the Blue Boys Network. All right, up the toffees. See you soon. Peace.